Ever thought to yourself how boring a holiday St. Patrick's Day is, or what even prompted this holiday to even begin with in the first place? I know I definitely have. My purpose is to reverse your thinking if you've had these thoughts. St. Paddy's Day is not super well known because it originated in Ireland long ago. Once you learn the true purpose and meaning behind the holiday, you will want to follow the same traditions I will explain later. Each year, this affects you in some way or another. Whether you wear green, attend a parade, you most likely don't know the significance, but if you do, congrats. Not many people do. I'm not Irish myself, but every year this affects me and I wonder why. If I'm not Irish, then why do I have to celebrate it? Researching more into the topic, I found all the fun traditions and origin it started with. This got me interested and wanted others to know about it too. St. Patrick's Day is full of many traditions and was established long ago. Today, I'll be covering how St. Patrick's Day got started, traditions that are associated with it, and how it has evolved in later years. St. Patrick's Day has been around for centuries, but not many people know about the origin, traditions, and how we celebrate it today. When you think of St. Patrick's Day, do you ever think of how it got the name? In AD 390 in Britain, a boy named Maewyn was born. He grew up in a Christian home with slaves and property. At age 16, he was kidnapped and whisked away to Ireland, where he became a slave and deeply religious. Eventually, Maewyn began to hear voices that were telling him to escape back to Britain. He went on a ship and reunited with his family, but once again the voices told him to go back to Ireland. Before he went back, he was ordained a priest and changed his name to Patrick. He was often beaten and imprisoned by the Irish royalty. While St. Patrick was in Ireland, he had a lot of luck converting Druids to Christians. After his death, he was largely forgotten, but slowly the legend around Patrick grew. The first St. Patrick's Day parade was in America around 1601. Ancient Spanish documents revealed the first parade was in St. Augustine, Florida. Even though it was a Spanish settlement, St. Patrick was regarded as a saint of corn in the settlement. After this parade, the idea spread throughout the United States and Ireland. And it wasn't until 1631 where Irish settlements started to celebrate this holiday, when the church established a feast day honoring St. Patrick, and pubs were closed and people were forced to come to church to celebrate. With the start of parades came many more traditions that have carried into modern times. Editors at History explain the traditions and events that occurred during St. Patrick's Day, including the shamrock, the color green, corned beef, and leprechauns. The shamrock was a sacred plant in ancient Ireland because it symbolized the rebirth of spring. As the English began to seize the Irish, many Irish began to wear the shamrock as a symbol of their pride and their heritage. The color green is most likely something you associate with St. Patrick's Day the most, and it only became associated with Ireland in 1798 when the Irish Rebellion took place. During the rebellion, Irish soldiers decided to wear green during this time. Corned beef and cabbage have become a traditional meal for this holiday. Although cabbage has been around for a long time, corned beef has not. Irish immigrants substituted corned beef for their traditional dish of Irish bacon to save money. Leprechauns stem from Celtic beliefs in fairies, tiny men and women that could use their powers for evil or for good. They have their own holiday, but are still associated with the Irish holiday. The origin and traditions that have been carried for a long time throughout history, we still celebrate in some of the ways we did in the 1600s. It wasn't until the 18th century when traditions really kicked in high gear. In 1762, the first New York City parade took place. During the parade, participants wore green, freely spoke Irish language, sang Irish songs, and played the pipes to Irish tunes that were meaningful to Irish immigrants of that time. According to WalletHub, nowadays, 50% of respondents said they plan to celebrate the Irish holiday, and 79% of the celebrators said they would dress up. Every year, the Chicago River is filled with 50 pounds of green dye to make it green for 5 hours. The river was first dyed in 1962. Now that you know all the traditions and ways to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, you can inhabit the ones that you enjoy the most. St. Patrick's Day is full of many traditions that were established long ago. My purpose was to turn your thinking into liking this holiday and enjoying every piece about it. How St. Patrick's Day got started was in 390 AD when St. Patrick was born into a British family. He then became a priest and turned many Druids into Christians. The legend behind him is followed with the dedicated day of St. Patrick's Day that has many cultural habits enjoyable for all. For as long as we live, this holiday will always be recognized as a day of gathering and remembering Irish heritage.